Hi, I'm Kiwi,
And I'm Jarad.
and we are the two gentlemen coming to you from the lucky country. Jarad, how are you?
Well, waterlogged, but well. um, Not as waterlogged as some, but yeah, it's been a bit of. Actually, this episode is pretty going to be pretty much. We're recording it now, and it's going to be released in a couple of days, so it's pretty fresh.
It's the
So it's
freshest one we've ever done.
yeah, we can talk about current events. It's without going back in time too far. Yeah. So I'm all right. I'm all right. Just like everyone else everyone else on the east coast of Australia, we've copped a bit of a hiding, and it's pretty wet. But yeah, there's worse things in the world.
Yeah, and hence my intro. We are so lucky here in Australia. Just a little reminder to everybody that our nickname is the lucky country. And
Mm.
I guess it's due to our location and all our resources, and I guess the way we have united when we've needed to. And I
Mm.
just want to give a shout out to all the people around the world who are in conflict zones, especially in Ukraine.
Mm.
There's not a lot we can say really that hasn't been said already, but my heart goes out to everybody who's suffering and all the people up in the north of New South Wales who are inundated with the flood. I think two people have died at this point in time. It's just
Mm.
horrible. My family and I just holidayed up there recently. We had a
Good.
wonderful time. And then to hear that Ballina is now basically underwater is just heartbreaking. So yeah, I'm really, really sorry to all those people out there going through
Mm.
such a difficult time.
It's very heartbreaking to hear, and I've been watching it on the news and trying to you know convey to my girls that like, hey, you have your little tantrums and moments here and there, but look at this, these people have lost everything, so a little bit of a teachable moment if I can take anything out of it. But it would be pretty real for you being there, a couple of weeks ago, not even, and now it's all underwater. It must be a pretty surreal sort of feeling, and yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it certainly teaches you gratitude when things like that happen. I was
Yeah,
up there and complaining about the weather, going, "Oh, geez, we didn't get much sunshine." Well, look at what
yeah,
these people are getting. So, my
yeah.
first
I
world
know.
self needs
Definitely.
to get myself in line sometimes.
Yeah, you give yourself a bit of a yeah. I know. Sometimes we have a bit of a have a little go at things and opinions on things, and we don't really yeah. Sometimes you need a bit of a reality check.
Exactly.
So opinions, I just mentioned it then. How are you at? I don't even know the words. So I don't have an opinion on it. Now, how are you at putting your opinion out there to be heard, and what do you expect when you do that?
Okay, two-pronged question there. Am I good at it? I used to be,
Right.
but then as I was getting older, probably my mid-20s, I just really wanted to get over myself and just say, look, mate, you're not that important.
Right.
For
Okay.
me, that was it for me. So when people say something to me, I just kind of nod, not because I'm afraid of sharing my opinion, but because they're not asking me for my opinion necessarily. If someone asks me, what do you think about this? Then I'll freely say, well, actually, Jarad, I think the Parramatta Eels suck. No, I'm just kidding.
Thanks for that. Yeah, right.
You did
Podcast
ask.
over.
You did ask my opinion there, didn't you? No, but I'm not. I don't just freely volunteer my opinion because I'd like to think I'm not that important.
Right.
That's my view. So I'm totally happy with sharing it as long as somebody's asking me. But otherwise, I'm happy to just hear them because clearly it's more important to them because if they're bringing it up, then
Mm.
I'd like to hear them and make them feel heard and help them explore what they believe.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, so we look. I got a little bit of feedback, and I passed it on to you about maybe you know to have a listen to other shows and things that and the feedback was that if you have an opinion, then and if the opinion is a little bit sort of out there, you will get more people to listen to your show, or you'll get more interest in your show. And look, I don't disagree with that, but it's not a natural thing for me to push my opinion onto people. I'm a bit I probably didn't have a moment like you had where it was like, oh, I had this moment where I went, I'm not that important. And my opinion doesn't always matter to everybody. But that's built in me. Like I haven't had that moment, but it's been like a progressive thing and a learning experience of like, well, sometimes I don't need to say my opinion here because, the situation, whatever the situation might be, there's too many, chefs in the kitchen already. There's too many opinions flying around. So I don't know if that's a confidence thing or whatever, but to me, that's why am I going to stir the pot even further for something that, and I'm not saying I've got these opinions that are out there. It's just, I don't see the point in saying something that probably I don't believe in.
Look, you used some really good metaphors there when you said too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah.
There is a lot of noise out there, isn't there? There's people screaming at each other from all directions, especially at this point in time when everybody can feel heard through social media. Well, actually, they're not feeling heard, so they've got to be even louder and say more things and say more outrageous things. Now, back to that feedback about if we had stronger opinions, we'd probably get a bigger listenership. Well, I actually said to my eldest son that if I had a YouTube channel where there was a video of me going, all right, let's see how many shots in the balls I can take before I drop, that video would go viral, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to do it.
We won't even do it for the show? No.
I'm definitely not taking one for the team in that regard, Jarad. But if it's just for listeners, and that's not authentic anyway. The whole point of this show was two guys just being authentic. That very first show, when I tell people, look, do you want to listen to our podcast? And I explain to them what happened. That was authentic. You came to my place. You came up, like it'd been years since we'd seen each other. You came up and said hi to my family. And then we went down to the garage and just hit record. And that was it. We had no plans. We didn't know that we were going to end up here at episode, I think it's 44 now. It was just your idea. Hey, do you want to do a podcast together? So we weren't there going, all right, well, let's do this to get listeners. It was just two guys sharing a friendship really. And hoping to share that with the world. And what you also added there that, is your opinion that important? And well, the truth is it's not. As long as you're happy with who you are and living your life the way you want to live it, it doesn't matter. And everyone's got their own opinion. People are probably looking at us going, oh, those two guys, they're wasting their time with this podcast. There's hardly anyone listening. Well, yeah, that's fine. Like to me, it's not offensive at all for someone to say that. It's totally cool. We've just got to have the confidence to be who we are. That's the thing.
Yeah, and I also think, just sort of grabbing onto something there, like you should save your opinions for the things that matter. So shouting it from the rooftops when, I don't know, I think we've sort of discussed this before, but, save your opinions for when you're trying to sort something out in your family life or your work life, or, when you actually need to put your opinion out there or your theory out there. But just getting online, for example, and getting into arguments in the comment section of some blog is not constructive, and in fact, it actually just ends up making you more opinionated on things and a little bit more edgy. And, I know when I've read comments at times, sometimes you go down that wormhole of like, I'm going to read these comments, and you actually do get a little bit agitated, and you're like, why am I getting angry at this? But it's because somebody's really put their opinion forward. And I think that's probably where I sort of think, well, I actually think why bother? Why bother starting a fight with somebody who's, across the other side of the world and you have a different opinion on, how your toast should be cooked? Like, I don't know. It's just, some silly things that people put their opinion out there, and I don't want to be that. I don't feel comfortable doing that, and I also don't want to do that.
Yeah. Jarad, there's the whole thing that people talk about, which is the culture war. And the culture war, if you're not familiar with it, basically it's a battle for minds. That's what it comes down to. We have land wars where, one tribe would invade the other. But, you can't control a populace with force. I mean, you can, but, we can see how those regimes turn out. But ideally, what any regime will want is that for people to think a certain way. And that's the easiest way to control people, have them think that this is how you do things.
Yep.
So that's where it starts. It started, when the moment we formed, an alliance of two people, we had to think the same. And if you thought differently to me, well, then my job is to convince you to think my way. Your job is to try to convince me to think your way. And then boom, it's on. Yeah. And whoever's got the strongest ideas wins. Or I could just kill you. That's the other way to do it. Yeah. And that's where we're at the moment in history. And we'll always be here because two people always disagree on something.
Yes.
And I guess it's just a natural thing that we want our tribe to be bigger and we want it to be united. So we try to get people to think like us. So whatever it is, like you said, it could just be about how you butter your toast, or whether you use vegan butter or dairy butter.
You use what?
What did you say?
I was trying out the opinion. I was trying out the opinion thing. I didn't. It didn't feel right.
But that's the thing. Like we want, and I guess it's just an extension of making ourselves feel more secure by getting people on side.
Yeah.
And I'm not an insecure guy. I don't need people to think like me. My kids think completely different from me. And I appreciate that. And to me, I wear that as a badge of honor. It's like, wow, I've raised kids that think for themselves and aren't afraid of me and don't do things to please me. That's awesome. So that's how I feel about all my friends as well, that we can be on the same page. Now, I had a great chat with a friend on Friday night, and I mentioned her in the last episode, the long distance friends, where I said she lives 10 Ks away and we never see each other. Well, we finally saw each other. So thanks for dinner the other night, friend. But she talked about a friendship of hers, and she said, it hasn't been going great. This person has some very different views on a very contentious topic. I'm not going to bring it up here. Again, people will say, oh, why are you sitting on the fence? You don't want to offend anyone. Well, it was a private conversation. That's why. Yeah. But she said, am I in the wrong by having an issue with this person having a different opinion to me? But it turned out it wasn't the fact that the person had a different opinion. It was the way the person expressed their opinion. It was more about the person being judgmental and obnoxious. And to reassure her, I gave her an example. I said, look, if you told me you liked a certain film and I didn't like it, and straight away I just went, oh, do you like that? That's stupid. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's not she wouldn't have an issue with the fact that I don't like the same film as her. It's the way I'm carrying on.
That's right.
That's the thing. So I think people need to be able to distinguish that quite often it's not the fact that we disagree with one another. It's the way we go about it.
Yeah, the disrespect that can be thrown in certain ways because your opinion is different. It's and I think I'm sort of branching off a bit, so reel me back in if I don't, if it's something that if I sort of go off into a different area here. But having that sort of, I don't know, having those opinions, and I'm only just sort of saying what's in my head at the moment, but having those opinions and also acting in that way, like being a little bit disrespectful and what have you, that can get people to watch. People love watching drama.
Exactly.
So and when I say that, it can get people to watch / listen / have an opinion on your opinion, and then you get people who are against you or for you, and I guess that's the shock jock style of doing things. And history shows that there's been a lot of shock jocks on commercial radio and TV, and then they tend to get carried away, and some of them end up losing their job because they've said something wrong or what have you. But that's that was their job, to be opinionated and to ruffle feathers. And people love the drama. People will go, oh, excuse me, I'm talking too much now. People will go that I don't want to watch this guy. He's like they say it's like a car wreck. You can't look away, but then the other two, they still do, and they still have an opinion. And then the other people are like, yeah, this person's awesome, and so it is a drama thing that attracts a very, and I don't know what it is in society that makes that occur. And it's been something I've been thinking about. It's been something I've been thinking about. Like I'd love to get more listeners, but I love to do it organically, right? So we've got a good base of listeners and a good interactive base of listeners, but I'd also love to see more people, hear what we have to say. But I don't want to go down that path of doing something that we're not comfortable with to get that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just not authentic. That's the thing. When you realize that people are going on like that purely for the audience. Now, I remember a shock jock getting sued years ago for something he said. And then he came back and said, look, this isn't news. This is entertainment.
Yeah.
And, that should have, set the alarm bells off for all of his audience going, wait a second, I'm being manipulated here. I'm basically watching an episode of Days of Our Lives. And because this guy wants to get me riled up, a lot of these guys are trying to, another thing that annoys me, Jarad, is the statement, I tell it as it is. Really? You see everything. You've got this all-seeing perspective, do you? You've got this heavenly eye that can see all things from all perspectives. Really? No, you're not telling it as it is. You're telling it as you see it. And when the audience is getting there going, oh yeah, I like him because he tells it as it is. No, he's telling it as he sees it, and he's saying the stuff that validates what you believe already. That's all. Yeah. You're not going there and getting educated going, he makes a fine point there. I might go and, do some personal reflection and growth. No, he's just reflecting your frustrations or feelings about whatever topic.
And it's making you feel good. And that's how, you can get whipped into a little bit of a frenzy, it validates your thoughts and makes you feel good. So, you're right. It is. I've never thought of it that way, but it's an interesting comment, isn't it? I tell it as it is, and it's actually as you see it. And that might be, but you might have. We don't know that what peripheral vision you have, or how you're. There's no way you can see and pick up everything.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing with opinions is, I've always believed that there are many ways to the one. It's an old saying. You can get to enlightenment so many different ways. So when somebody makes a rule change in a sport, and then people, get all fired up and going, "Oh, this is terrible," or other people saying, "Oh, this is brilliant," I always stand back and say, "Well, let's see what happens." And you'll get one thing that's great, and you'll get one thing that's not so great that the rule change didn't quite foresee. And Phil Gould says that a lot, actually. You fix one problem, you create another problem. Yeah. And that happens, but I'm okay with that. That's life. Like I don't expect all these administrators to get everything right every single time. And the fact that people get riled up over it, I think sometimes it's just something to do. Really. Yeah. And don't forget, everybody, that these journalists, they need something to write about. They've got a little column that they need to fill every week or every day or whatever it is. You go to a sports website. There's not, your sport isn't being played every day, so they've got to dig up a story from somewhere. Yeah. So let's just talk about this. Let's make a controversy out of this.
And that's right. And I mean, look, I just go back to that. You're almost saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're almost saying that when you that we are going to make mistakes. Like, so rule changes we're just talking about sport here, but obviously that happens through society. Things are going to change. Goalposts are going to be moved essentially, but if they don't get it right, then they change it back, or they change it, or they tweak it, or they make it a little bit better, or a little bit faster or slower or whatever. But it's all about the experience, right? It's learning from the experience. So somebody's had an idea and they've made the choice. Okay, let's use this idea and see how we go. It's not saying that it's going to be there for, etched in stone and going to be, there. It's something that, as society, with I've probably branched off a different topic here, but you got to understand that things like this happen, and you've got to experience the bad to make it not just spurt off before it even occurs and go this is the wrong thing ever, there's no way this is going to work and all that sort of garbage. You've got to sit back and see how it goes, and then make your decision, an educated decision.
Yep. And also, Jarad, that's perfect. And also, once you do make that educated decision, there's no need to fly off the handle about it. If you were right and they were wrong, there's no need to go, oh, well, I told you so. I knew this was going to happen. I warned everyone this was going to work. It wasn't going to work. Well, this is the process of evolution. You try things, they don't work. It's like a flow chart. You walk this way, you hit a roadblock, well, you have to go that way. And that's totally fine. And without having such a judgmental attitude, it's going
Yeah.
to let people take bigger risks and let people feel more free, and we'll come up with better solutions instead of just throwing everything in everybody's face and making people afraid and having this culture of fear. We can have
Mm.
a culture where people are willing to try things.
Yeah, it's a tough. I think it's a tough gig, making change or putting yourself out there these days, because back before we had this whole world wide web, and if somebody had an opinion, you wouldn't get it unless you were a friend or a family member or accidentally knocked on their door, and
Yeah.
you wouldn't get that opinion. But it's so easy to pop your opinion out there now. It's so simple. And I think I've early episodes I said it, like you can be in your house and comfortable, and then you can just fly off an opinion without even thinking about it, or you can just have a bad 5 minutes and just throw this opinion out there, and then it's out there, and think about that because like there will be ramifications for that.
Yeah, you said that in an earlier episode, I remember.
Yeah.
And you were very forgiving, which I loved. That you said that there were people that get back from a bad day at work and they'll say something they shouldn't have said, and then people hold it against them for life.
Yeah.
They get a life sentence for something they said once, maybe one word that they used. I'm a very forgiving guy. I just think, look, you know what? We're all human. We're all going to say something that we regret. Let's not shame each other. There's no need to shame people. If someone says something that can be hurtful, let them know, but there's no need to, put them in the naughty corner for life.
And, things don't date well sometimes when you're opinionated.
Yeah.
So look, I guess what we've discovered here that we just like to sit on the fence. Maybe we're a bit opinionated about opinions. I don't know. But we seem to sit on common ground here, me and you, with this one. I mean, it's not probably not, not that we're ever argumentative, but it's not the back and forth you probably hope for. But we both agree, don't we?
But look, it would make it for better listening if you and I were arguing with each other every single episode. But that's not who we are. We're here to try to understand each other, and we're here to try to understand the world and other people. And you don't get that by taking a side. You get that by standing on top of the fence and, listening to that side, listening to that side. That's the way I see it. And you've got to remember, when people say, everyone hates this particular side of politics, half the country tends to side with them. The other half hates them. Yeah, that's, it's basically a 40-40 split with 10%, 20% who don't really care. So there's really, really strong opinions, and there's, the rest of us who are, kind of swing each way. I'd like to, be one of the people that can break things up into the actual issue that it is. So it's not, well, Jarad said it. Well, I don't agree with Jarad. Jarad's, one of the bad guys. So therefore everything Jarad says is dumb. It's just, it's immature.
Can we cut that into a promo for our show? If you just isolate that would sound awesome.
And you know what? If you were running for politics, one of your enemies would cut that out and say, look, this is what his podcasting partner says about him. And then they play that completely out of context. And then you'd have to go and explain yourself, and that would slow you down.
We'd have a rift. Yeah. A public rift.
Yeah.
The truth of that's actually. Yeah. No, it's pretty crazy. It's I still don't, like I said, I still don't really have an opinion. I know I'm using the word a lot, but it just seems to me that opinions and drama are like a magnet for people, and I try and stay clear of that as much as I can.
Yeah. Just going with that, with the drama, I was just thinking of a TV show, and I don't watch it. And anyone that does watch it, please, I'm not judging you at all. But my kids and I we were watching the tennis over the summer, and of course, Married at First Sight was the ads for that were played, pretty much every ad break. And then they were like, what is this? And I was like, oh, look, just forget about it. Now, one of my very dear friends, she watches it, and she was overseas at one point. She was still tuning in to watch it online or something. So again, I'm not judging anybody for watching it, but it's all about the drama. Now, these producers came up with a concept that, that maximized drama. Now, I'm not the world's most, successful dater or anything like that, but I imagine that the best kind of dating show would be ones that show that people get along and talk and good stimulating conversation. But no producer is going to come up with that.
Who would watch that?
Exactly. No producer is going to go, let's get people, exploring their, ideas and, connecting on a really
level way,
Yeah. Let's try to capture true intimacy,
Going on that show, I'm same as you. I don't watch it, but yeah, it's kind of everywhere in the media. So you do see ads, or you hear ads on the radio, or some of the radio stations I listen to, you hear they interview when they get, I don't even know if they get voted off or whatever happens, they get eliminated. I don't know how that happens, but they talk to them then, and they replay some of the stuff that they've said on the show, and you're like, surely they're embarrassed by what they've done. Like some of the things that they come out with. And and they even say like, oh, that was producer prompted. Like the producers, fed us, gave us alcohol, made us a bit, made us a bit, and they had the cameras there, and they fired us up, and then they filmed and took everything kind of out of context, like what you were saying before with our little joke. So, these shows, they're designed for that, to get the millions of viewers who just want to sit and have a bit of watch some car crash TV, I guess.
Yeah. And we just want to get rolled up over it. We want to hate these characters too. We look at them and go, oh, she's the baddie, or, he's,
And they make that. They do that. That's design. That's nothing. That's not, I mean, I'm saying nothing new. Most people know that, but they're not a bad person. That's just how they've filmed it and how they've put it all together. And like, I guarantee you could cut and edit this episode that we just did and make me look like a bad guy somewhere. Like,
I think I will, Jarad.
Yeah, no, do it as a bit of a I'll just say words like jerk, and then you can put that somewhere, like moron. But like it's honestly, it's all entertainment.
Yeah.
And maybe we're not that entertaining.
And now here's the thing, Joe. What do you do as an audience member who realizes, hang on a second, I am being manipulated here. These, shock jocks or whoever else, they're really trying to rile me up. They're trying to get me to click on the article, even as an enemy. Like, you see boxers do it, for example. They'll say the most outlandish things and say, look, people are tuning in either to see me win or to get knocked out. I don't care. I'm getting paid. That's the way they see it. And they'll always do that. And that's the way they run their whole careers. And good on them. It's really, really hard to get attention these days. And they've been doing it since, the days of Muhammad Ali, all these press conferences. Yeah. So look, it's, as an audience member, what do you now do? You can continue to invest in these shows and give your eyeballs and your mind over to it, and, mental space, because you do think about it afterwards. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Or you can at least, defend yourself against the dark arts and go, well, okay, so this is how it is. I'm actually not watching what I think I'm watching here. So what do I do? I don't know, maybe read a book or something.
Yeah, but it's your decision, mate.
Of course.
And it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't actually matter whether you tune in or not. And I guess this ties back into opinions. Like, you're not then going to shout from the rooftops that, and I use Married at First Sight because we just talked about it. Married at First Sight is a terrible show and I'm not watching it, and blah, blah, blah. Or on the contrary, you're not going to go up there and go, everybody, you've got to watch this show. Like, that's not you, then why do we all get online and, do that essentially virtually, your decision is to not watch it or to watch it. Just accept it and enjoy it. Take in your decision, experience your decision. Simple.
I think so, Jarad. Well, is there anything you do have a really strong opinion about and that you would share with people? Or are you pretty much just happy living on your own and just doing your thing?
I think I'm a little bit I can get caught up in a little bit of a frenzy sometimes. So
Okay.
not like, going off crazy or anything like that, but sometimes I like to fill the air with noise. So sometimes I'll talk, and then you realize it didn't sound too good, or that's not what I wanted to. That's not represented myself. I haven't represented myself well. So yeah, I do. I'm not an opinionated person, and I don't have anything I really want to, get out there. But I suppose if you're in a group of people and everyone's talking about something, you end up having an opinion at some point, or you form that opinion during that conversation, and that's not great because you haven't had a chance to really think about it. So that's probably the only time, just to get involved in the conversation. Sometimes you just, before you know it, you've sort of jumped on a side and you don't realize it, or you've put the opinion out there and you're like, oh, that's not necessarily, you have a bit of morning after sort of. Ooh. But I don't have anything that riles me up or makes me opinionated just now sitting here. Yeah. Look, again, sorry, I'm going to say that there are some things in the world that do, but my opinion really is not going to bear any change to that, if that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah. You don't feel like it's consequential.
There's some really terrible things going on in the world, and there has been throughout history. And yes, I have an opinion on them. So I'm not going to say I don't have an opinion on that stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to. My opinion does not even matter in that. Like, I know it, and I know that my opinions are pure or good or whatever you want to call it. But that's my opinion, and I'm happy to keep that to myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, I just realized that we're just about out of time. So I won't share anything particularly about myself.
You're about to unload. But yeah, sorry, we're out of time.
I actually wrote a 5,000 word essay, but I won't have time to read it out.
That's a bonus. That's a bonus episode. Okay.
But look, for all of you who are listening to our show and still listening since the beginning, we really, really appreciate your support. Yeah. Look, I don't know how entertaining we are. I don't know if you're just listening because I basically force you to, and I ring you every week telling you, hey, you listen to my show or what? But we're really enjoying the support that we have. We really like, the base level of support we've got is fantastic, and I'm happy with that. I'm happy that, if even one person gets something out of this, then that's great for me because, Jarad and I, we reconnected and we're just having a lot of fun. That's about it, really.
And look, that the goal was to reconnect and have fun. And I remember saying these words to you, like, doesn't matter if one person picks up one little piece and goes, you know what, I might do that, or I agree with that, or I had a laugh about that, or whatever, or sympathize, empathize with that. Like, that's fine with me. I'm happy with that. And you know what, I've been sort of spruiking it through my Facebook page and my social medias. And people are commenting, and I really appreciate the comments, and I share them with you. And it's really cool that, people that I haven't heard of, and I've said this in the early episodes, but it actually seems to be expanding to other people as well. People I haven't heard of for a while, or people that I thought, hey, we talk about long distance friendships in the other episodes, and they're people that are from my past. And it's like, oh wow, it's nice to hear from you again.
Yeah,
and that's a really valid point that you wrote, and thank you, and all that sort of stuff. So it's the engagement is really nice.
Yeah, we absolutely love that. Yeah, so please look, continue to interact with us. Comment on our Twitter page, Facebook, Instagram. Just get in touch with us. We love hearing from you. Jarad, thank you so much. That was a really good episode. There's an opinion for you. I really enjoyed it.
I will share that opinion.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, man. Bye, mate.